What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action sporting in the left side of the map in the red color, playing as Zeus. His name is the Rapl. His opponent today in the blue color, playing as Ra. His name is Squash. The map is Blue Lagoon. And this is just a random Voobly ladder game. Squash currently sitting at the top of the Voobly ladder. And obviously Rapl here to attempt to dethrone him. We do have a Ra versus Zeus matchup on Blue Lagoon. So this one's actually quite an interesting matchup. Lots of options here for the Zeus player to hit some really strong power spikes that don't exactly exist for the Hades or the Poseidon, but you never know what's going to happen. You can also go for some really strong Athena rushes here against the Ra, especially with a gold mine this exposed. Though that all being said, Squash is very good about defending Athena rushes. I've seen him deal with the Athena rush by simply getting enough gold to get to the heroic age, and then once he gets to the heroic age, everything just jumps onto wood, and he can just spam those chariot archers, and it can be very tough. So let's see what's going to happen here for Squash. He's already gotten 6 villagers over onto food, so he's going for a fairly quick advance time. He's just a little bit late on the gold to get the temple up quickly, and a monument and all that other stuff, so maybe nothing too fancy here. He does have a decent second town center as well, which he might want to try and get because of this zebra here. He's got 9 zebra on top of this town center, which makes it very strong, but no gold mines here. And if we check out Rapl's base over here, you can see he's found his own second town center, has an elephant on top of it, which is huge. This town center over here is also relatively good with the zebra that have spawned up on this location. So he's got a lot of options here. Fast second town center, fast third town center is actually very good here as well. We have seen players like Scardy against Joe's Ra opt to go for a later advance time, closer to 5:15, going for fast 3 town center plays against Ra, which can be very strong. And on a map like this, I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that Rapl is going to try and do. So we'll see if that's the case or not, as Rapl is looking for a little bit of scouting information, going to see what's going on over into the base. He has spotted the gold mine. He spots 2 sentry towers on it. This does mean that there's options here. It's like, well, it's a weakness for the Rapl spotted. And so what Squash has to be realizing is, well, Odysseus walking in here is going to have full range over this gold mine with the towers not helping. So one way to deny this is to simply just houses up this way, houses over this way, and that way the Odysseus is not going to be able to get in here. But instead, he's going for houses around his towers to make sure that those are safe. He's getting himself a monument and everything else. But this location might be open, though. 1 wall, 2 walls might be enough here a little bit later as the preferred defense against early game Zeus shenanigans. So we'll see what he's going to do. Now, Squash here going up through Ptah, 4:30 advance time. No real surprises there. And Rapl going for just a little bit later. He's going for a 4:45, and he has clicked Athena, or it's 4:30, but he has clicked Athena here. This doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be going for a Athena rush. In fact, it's kind of looking like that might not be the case because he's gotten 7 villages. Actually, 7 villages on wood does indicate Athena rush, but 4 villages on gold does not indicate Athena rush. So I'm a bit confused about what Rapl's going for here. Normally you want 5 villages on gold for the town center. 4 villages doesn't really give me too much information. So we'll see if something specific is going to happen here. And we do already have Squash setting up a box here. Has to be careful to make sure that he protects this tower, such that if he does end up shifting, sanding something into here, they're not going to be able to bash their way out and sneak out of this location. So we'll see if he's going to make that possible or not. As we do see Dar coming through, and that wall we were talking about is coming up. So no way for the Odysseus to come in and harass it. Going to be completely fine. And now we're seeing immediate Jason, Odysseus. And there is now 5 villages, or are now 5 villages on gold for Rapl. So he can come over here and get this town center at any time. He hasn't thrown down any sort of military academies or anything. The villagers are going to be making their way over here. And it is actually looking like Squash is going for a fast heroic here. A 1 town center, fast heroic to be incredibly safe here. He's got 10 villagers on food. He's eating as much of this food as fast as he can, as the Minotaur is going to be making his way over here. The Jason over here, as well as the Odysseus. And this is interesting because we're going to have a bit of an old school strategy here. This is like when IS's players used to go 1 town center, Ancestors Eclipse timing against the Zeus. The Zeus player would realize that, okay, well, I can go 2 town centers defense and come out on top pretty much no matter what. And we do see the villagers shanking away to try and hold on to this food for as long as he possibly can. But with the Odysseus coming in here, this might indicate immediate shifting sands into this location, but still no walls here just yet. And we do see that shifting sands is coming in here. The villagers will shank down 1 Jason, 1 Minotaur, but 1 villager kill here. Nonetheless, the Odysseus does actually end up surviving this one, as the armory is going to come up and squash down a shifting sands, but Rapl down a Jason and a Minotaur. And this does serve multiple functions here. Squash would have wanted to bring those villagers back home anyways. We do see that armory is coming up. And with Rapl getting this 2nd town center, Squash is going to realize he needs to get raids in here. He needs to get a good locust to get any sort of chance here in this game, because Rapl's economy is going to be big. He's got himself the elephant on the town center, which is huge. He's eating up this zebra over here very nicely. The only problem right now for Rapl is he hasn't started any walls. Now, I'm of the opinion that walling against Ra is kind of useless, but it does help out just a little bit. And the reason it's useless is because of the rock. You chuck your rock over the wall, you get your cavalry or your chariot archers to walk over to the rock, you jump over the wall and begin raids as if nothing had happened. So that's not the case just yet for plays. I haven't seen many players doing it. We do see that this Odysseus actually has some range on this location. So that's going to be a little bit annoying here for Squash to deal with. As Squash trying to retreat those villagers away. The Wadget obviously going to get sniped down there very quickly, but good micro, bringing the Odysseus back in underneath Tower Fire. Rapl not paying attention. He's going to pull back just a little bit now as Squash attempting to get himself the Migdol stronghold that he so desperately wants. The Wadget going to come, or the Batsugos and the Wadget might come with the rock. Sometimes we see the rock just go by itself to try and get a locust in, and there are the walls coming up for Rapl to try and defend any sort of raids that are going to come in. We do see these units sitting very, very precariously placed. I would totally drop those myth units here and snipe off those Toxotes as fast as he possibly can. There we go. One-shotting each of those. Beautiful play there. Big bolt onto the Patsukos. That's going to slow down any sort of rock raids that are going to be coming here. The Wadget not so good at taking out those villages. Now, Squash, he might have... Does he have Shadoof just yet? No Shadoof just yet. He can research it. He's just about to be running out of the pigs. He can go in with a very, very fast Mythic Age here off of farming. So long as he can get access to a 2nd gold mine here, he should be okay to do that kind of strategy. And we'll see how that's going to work as Rapl's back here. Now, Rapl does have Restoration to counter Locust. This is something that we haven't seen a lot of, but Restoration is a beautiful counter to Locust. It basically means that Locust shouldn't kill any villagers if you're fast enough. We do see the cavalry coming over here. The rock is going to sit on this location. This could be the spot that Squash is going to try and jump over here, as we do see a bunch of units from Rapl coming over to try and defend this. Rapl trying to throw more walls up, more houses up, an armory as well, as he's going to continue in this game. I'm surprised to see him going in with Toxotes against the 1 town center fast heroic from Squash. The Toxotes not going to be able to do all too much here, especially against cavalry and potentially chariot archers. But in the end, the Wadget will get sniped down here, but not after... Boit just basically paid for itself with all the Toxotes that he has managed to take out there. And now cavalry retreating away. More raids coming over onto this point, as Squash has decided the max amount of value he's going to be getting in this game is going to be going after those Toxotes here, as they're going to be retreating, and they will end up getting all sniped off here as Rapl in a bit of a predicament thus far. He's pulling back, but he is getting pushed around. He does have a big villager lead at this point, as we see the villagers retreating one way, retreating the other way. Locust coming down. Restoration. No restoration. He decides to just say, I'm going to hold restoration. He only picked off 2 villagers there, and 3 villagers have been picked off, but still advantage Rapl thus far in terms of villager count because of the second town center. But in the meantime, Squash getting himself his own second town center, starting the farms up here. Another villager kill there as the cavalry are going to be retreating away from this location. They have found yet again more villagers here. Check the villager count. All right. Villager count here is looking like it is approximately a 20 villager lead for Rapl, as he is deciding to turn around, take this fight as best as he can. The cavalry over here sniping down Toxotes. And there's the town center up for Squashes, who's going to start walling up the map himself to try and take advantage here. And if we check out Rapple's economy here, he's starting his farming, he's running out of food, and that is going to be a difficult situation for him to be in. But this is generally what happens. So he's going to have to get these farms up. He's not going to be able to do much. Oh, he gets on the rain, actually. I forgot that Squash hadn't cast rain. So it's actually huge. He gets 9 farms here, and he can keep spamming these farms out and get a very, very healthy amount of food from Squash, who is definitely in a difficult situation, to be sure. The economy seriously in favor of Rapl thus far, even though the scores are equal. It's not going to be enough. Squash is going to have to find some way forward. He's got no god powers left, whereas Rapl is going to have access to restoration, going to have access to either bronze or underworld. Generally, underworld is the one, and obviously then we've got the Son of Osiris or horror or tornado versus the Plentyvolt / lightning storm. We'll see how that's going to be going. The villagers are going to be going after this town center, which does make a little bit of sense, though I do prefer a faster Mythic Age here, as you guys know, than the third town center generally in this matchup. And we'll see how this is going to go. So we do see the gate getting taken down here, and that's going to allow Squash in to Rapple's gold mine, and Rapl needs to do something about this. He's throwing up his stable. He's coming over here with his units. His units are kind of running a bit funkily here as the Hippocon are trying to get in front, but they're bumping into those Toxotes. And the villagers did not run away. He tried to path block this, but it just wasn't quite enough. He will be making a retreat back into the town center, but losing a couple more villagers here. A little bit unnecessary, a little bit greedy from Rapl, but he will get back nonetheless, as some more villagers over here are getting targeted down. Squash very smartly recognizing that he is at a village deficit and trying to get that advantage back as fast as he can. Still no trade route started from Squash, so he's not able to get a lead here, as we do see a restoration from Rapl. A bit of a panic restoration here. Rapl is 3 town centers, so losing these villagers not going to be the biggest of issues, but we'll see if he can get a surround over here, as Squash is going to attempt to get out of here, but he will get kind of blocked in. I would love to see a building placement here, ghost building here to block these guys in, but not happening just yet. He's trying to put the building block over on this location. The units can simply walk straight through here though, and Squash is out, but he has taken a little bit of damage. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Squash looking for another raid over here. There are villagers on this gold mine. And Squash is not going to be allowing Rapl to grab these at all. I'm surprised to see no walls over here just yet. The villagers making their way over here. We are going to be seeing a quick dart away from this location. I'll love to see these villagers come over here while this distraction is going on. Meanwhile, raids in the main base of Rapl, as Squash is throwing away all of his units here. This is a huge advantage right now for Rapl to be in. He's lost a couple more villagers, but he's still completely fine here. The wall's not up just yet, and that's going to allow Squash to come over and get these 2 very low cavalry and chariot archer away from here. And Squash yet again taking more villagers out here. Very, very nice. So you do see the cavalry are going to be very strong against this army, though. With the medium archers coming in, it's looking like Squash decides does not want to fight this. Squash has his 3rd town center now. Walls getting set up everywhere. Grabbing more gold mines. Still no market. We have the most offensive Matrius market you've ever seen here. You see a cliff and you're like, that's as far as I can go. No. But then again, a market here would be super inefficient. So he's actually a little bit unlucky. Possibly on this location would be the best. Straight behind this, all the way to this town center here. Actually, this location here seems maybe even better than the bottom one going to this town center. It doesn't really matter. Squash is going to be setting up his trade route now, and we'll see how that's going to go. Wall's finishing up over here, making sure he's not going to get raided on this gold mine anymore. Would love to see, while all the units are at the top side of the map here, start controlling more of this bottom side. Send some villagers forward, get some more walls up here, control this location, as you can start a setup of siege onto this town center. If we get a wall here, fortress behind it, big wall box start going after this town center, it could be absolutely huge. Meanwhile, big fight happening on this location. The Hippocon doing some very, very good damage. Thank you so much for the 7 months there, Mr. 15 Blaze X. Appreciate you. And we will be seeing the Toxotes retreating behind the wall here, and going to be very safe for the time being. Nice micro here from Squash, immediately pulling back that cavalry. Squash's micro is insane. Sometimes you see him do some very, very nice things with his units. And right now, cavalry versus Toxotes, everything you have been taught about the paper, scissors, rock combat system is true here. These cavalry completely dice the Toxotes up here, and Rappl's going to be retreating away. Is Rapl getting to the next stage? Yes, he is. He's going through Apollo, and he is going to be setting up something here to continue. He needs to get out Prodromus straight away. How many stables he has? There's a couple of stables here, so he will be able to get those Prodromus out quite fast, but Squash getting a huge advantage here as Rapl has allowed him to take that fight. He's got a decent trade there, but Squash now with the advantage. If we check out Squash's economy here, he is full villages. He is going Osiris. He is starting somewhat of a trade route. Not completely started the trade route, but he is going Osiris. He's got 47 favor in the bank, so he will be wanting to get that Desert Winds upgrade for the cavalry as fast as he possibly can. How many Migdols has he got? Just the one Migdol. Just the one Migdol. And this is just how good Squash is. Been trading incredibly efficiently thus far that he doesn't need two Migdols, as he is setting one up on the front. And Squash is so good at doing this, so good at putting pressure onto his opponent and then taking control of the map in specific places while that's all going on. And Rapl not going to be aware of this one at all here. No signal fires, as we do finally see the Migdol getting shown here. And that's going to be huge for Squash to start making a big push onto this town center here. And we'll see how this is going to go, especially with the incoming Osiris to boot. Can be very, very tough for a Greek player to defend against that. Is Rapl going Mythic Age here? He is going through Hephaestus, very far behind the Osiris. There is a big cliff here set up as well, so you can start immediately going in with Catapult, utilizing this cliff to pick off these buildings before building a wall around this to have those catapults sitting in on that location. There's the Son of Osiris coming in, and Rapl needs to figure out a way to deal with everything here. The combination of cavalry plus Osiris is so deadly because the Prodromus are no good anymore. They have very little hack armor, 20% hack armor, very little HP. The Son of Osiris will immediately snipe them down, though Squash being a little bit overzealous here, moving that Son of Osiris very close. As we do see an immediate target here from Rapl, who's got himself the heavy Toxotes. He's still trying to micro this very nicely. Where's Squash's Catapult here? Is starting to build them right now. So many resources in the bank here. Squash's economy is off the chains good, as it hasn't been touched this game at all. Meanwhile, we do see the cavalry managing to push past these heavy Hippocon, as the raiding will continue, as Squash is absolutely relentless in this game. The Toxotes holding nicely. We do see a beautiful fortress coming up here for Rapl. Very smart to get that down. Start making those Heliopoli as soon as he possibly can. Given Prodromus and everything else, this could be a very, very nice way back here. We do see that Colossus does come down. Palentivolt immediately coming down. Do we see an immediate Bellerophon here for Rapl? Not just yet. He doesn't quite have the favor. He is getting himself the Forge of Olympus, though, so that's going to be absolutely huge if he can hold on here. There is no restoration. There is an Underworld passage, though, so there is a world here where Rapl can give up this town center, hit a Underworld onto this town center, and then make a huge almost blitzkrieg through the base of the Ra if that's something he wants to try and do here. But better is normally to just try and hold on to this as best as you can. Let those upgrades soak in. Get the Bellerophon out to be jumping onto that Son of Osiris every 15 seconds. Get yourself that temple upgrade to heal the Bellerophon back up. And you will be able to hold this most of the time here as the Heliopolis is rolling in right now. We see the mercenary cavalry getting sniped down as the mummy does end up sniping that Colossus there. The Bellerophon coming in. Going straight after the catapult. Very smart to deny that one and then pull back. Don't allow the Bellerophon to stay in here as we are now seeing those mercenary of Squash coming in. I'm not sure if he's got Magi. I can never remember if Magi shows up or not in the tooltip. I do remember it being bugged at some point, but I don't know if that was just vanilla or not. Anyways, the Bellerophon threatening that jump does come in, does hit the Son of Osiris. Lots of damage being done there. Beautiful micro from Rapl, playing that one perfectly here. Very, very nice play. Exactly what he needs to do to deal with this Son of Osiris. Waiting on that jump every single time. Immediately running in here. He does snipe off the mummy as well. Waiting on the rest of that. He's got a couple of these Heliopoli, and now he needs to start targeting down the Son of Osiris with his Heliopoli, and he's going to be able to push back, hold this location, and there's not going to be a whole lot that Squash can do. Squash is now starting to throw up those watchtowers, which are going to be very, very helpful. We are still seeing mercenary flooding in onto this location. The trade route is set up, and we do not see, we have actually started to see an upgraded, or a settlement started for Rapl as well, so his economy is going to be okay here. The army upgrades full copper now for Rapl versus full copper plus iron shields already for Squash, defending the pierce damage very, very nicely as we are seeing the Bellerophon retreating away here. He does have that 15 seconds already completed on his jump, so he might want to bring that one back. The other real very, very good way to utilize the Bellerophon is to simply just send him over and pick off a villager every 15 seconds with that jump special. So we do see the Son of Osiris going after the Bellerophon yet again, and it will get sniped down, but not before one of those catapults is getting taken down. The Heliopoli are going to get dealt with very quickly against those champion spearmen. They are very, very strong against the siege weapons. I've got that bonus, what is it, 50%? Bonus 100% damage against the siege towers. So you cannot be running those siege towers into spearmen without Hypaspist or Myrmidon. We are starting to see those Myrmidon coming through, but they are no upgrades at all. So these are champion spearmen against those Myrmidon, and we'll see Squash able to continue pushing forward here. Now, the question is, at this point, you do have... Well, there was a point there where Rapl had two siege towers, or two Heliopoli. He was about to have 3 Heliopoli with 2 Colossus. He could have definitely pulled back, underworlded here, gone after this town center, and then started that push here. We do see another Bellerophon coming out as the Son of Osiris hanging in here. We see immediately Bellerophon going after those catapult. Very smart to do that. I still think I would prefer him focusing on trying to take that Son of Osiris down. I don't care how good your micro is. If the Son of Osiris is stuck in the animation of firing, you cannot garrison him. So you will be able to take that one down very easily as we see the, unfortunately, Bellerophon, bit of lackluster micro there going after the spearman. Maybe a bit of a misclick there from Rapl as we do see Bellerophon getting taken down yet again. But now the Heliopoli pushing forward here. We need to start seeing Rapl throwing up some towers on this position to hold this a little bit better, but he will be able to take down the enemy towers here nicely as the Heliopoli rolling forward. The Colossus pushing in here as well. Neither player setting up anything on these locations though, as Rapl is slowly expanding out onto this location. There's a lot of empty space here, a lot of empty space here as well. That could be taken up with a single wall or 2. But not happening just yet. Rapl getting pushed back. All the trading going in the favor of Squash. Squash with lots of economy in the bank. Only 1 armory here. And I think he could be getting those armory upgrades a little bit quicker. He could have iron mail coming through right now if he so chose. but not opting to do that one. We are seeing essentially champion Spearman, Chariot Archers here, 160 of 160 population for Squash versus the population of Rapl, which is 157 of 140 population, losing his Town Center now. Very, very tough situation here. You essentially are sitting at 160 pops. You have to pull back, hit an Underworld, take a different Town Center here, because otherwise you're going to drop down to 140 or 140 pop and not be able to continue. So we're seeing a bit of a desperado attempt here by Rapl to try and push in here, as we do see the Heliopoli going straight after that Son of Osiris. Going to be doing a lot of damage to that one as it's getting pulled back immediately. Nice play from Squash to keep that one alive. 61 HP remaining. Down center attempting to get back up here as the Mercenary Cavalry coming in to try and take these down. We do not see a catapult here just yet. The Son of Osiris, 4 HP, still alive at 4 HP. Squash is showing that you can keep the Son of Osiris alive for a very long time, as this Town Center is getting very close to coming up. No catapult rolling in just yet for Squash, as he is doing his darndest to keep this one from going up. The Chariot Archers focusing it down. Still not any siege in here just yet. We do see the Mummy coming in. We'll be able to snipe off that Colossus, but there's just not much HP left in that one at all. We do see a Pharaoh coming in here. Thutmose is going to be attempting to take down the Colossus. The Town Center still getting very close to going up. Sometimes you got to send a lot of villagers over here, but Rapl very short on the resources, as all these idle villagers have hurt him quite a bit. He's having to trade very, very inefficiently in this game. The medium Myrmidon, you'd think very strong, but he's still only sitting at full bronze with only medium upgrades versus nearly full iron for Squash. As another Mummy coming in, we do see the Odysseus coming through, going to try and snipe off that Mummy, but still Town Center not coming up. Meanwhile, over here we do see some sneaky raids from Squash. More Mercenary Cavalry coming in here, as Squash is absolutely abusing Sun-Dried Mudbrick guard towers right now, setting up on this location. Once you have taken a Town Center down, this is what you need to do. You do not need to rush the Town Center up. You slow push the towers. Beautifully executed by Squash, as Rapl has not been able to deny this. We see some more Colossus coming through for Rapl, but a single Mummy is going to make this incredibly tough for Rapl to make the push in, as the Mummy uses the special ability here. We see the Heracles coming through, going to try and take this one down. Rapl, no Bellerophon here, which he would very much love to have to take that Mummy down, as the Heliopoli, normally incredibly strong here, getting dealt with incredibly nicely by those champion Spearmen. Beautiful play by Squash. Rapl has now got himself that Bellerophon out, but all of the Colossus have been taken out, as the Bellerophon can immediately move in, snipe off the Mummy there. The Town Center does end up coming up here for Rapl, so he's got a little bit of extra life left in him right now, but 120 of 160 population. Squash 160 of 160 population, and he is continuing the onslaught here with these towers getting set up. Still, this is like, I could just leave my camera on this location, and it's been the only spot that these guys have fought for the past 5 to 10 minutes here. Pretty wild that that's the case. It's obviously the weak point of Rapl, but Squash has got weak points as well, and Underworld is the only kind of power spike left here for Rapl. So we'll see if he's going to attempt to get that to happen anytime soon. As where are we now? Rapl over here making those Heliopoli out. We do see the Colossus going after the guard tower, as the Bellerophon doing its darndest here to try and take down everything. We do see the Bellerophon taking out that catapult, but immediately getting focused down by those crenellation towers. At this point, it becomes a difficult task. Yes, you're trading 400 gold, 6 favor for 400 resources technically, but you just cannot afford to keep that trade going very nicely here, as now Squash has got himself a ballister towers, and his economy is absolutely ginormous here in this game, as Rapl is desperately trying to get himself those Myrmidon that are so strong in this matchup, but he just cannot get a mass of units here. He needs to essentially stop fighting and mash units. Otherwise, he's just sending units in one by one, and if you've watched 300, you'll realize that if there's 300 units in one little area and you keep sending in 10 to 20 units at a time, you're not going to be able to push through. And in that moment, Rapl does end up tapping out and Squash gets the dub here. A really, really well executed game, but I do think that Rapl had a couple of options here that he didn't try for, and I would have loved to have seen an attempt at getting full population with, like, say, 3 Heliopoli, couple Colossus, and then underworlding the back of the Ra, taking this Town Center out, pushing through here, or returning back after you take that out, and then continuing the fight like that. But if you can go for a blitzkrieg of some variety, take this Town Center out, walk through here, take this out. Yes, you have Mercenary to deal with, but the strength of that composition kills it off all too fast for it to be set up, and it potentially could have been an option here for Rapl, but didn't do it, and Squash did manage to dictate where the game was going to have to get played, and all of this side pushing as well was going to be a big issue for Rapl in the coming time of this game, as he's not set that up at all. Beautiful play by Squash. GG. Well played yet again, asserting his strength in Age of Mythology. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next game.